Hey everybody, welcome back to Chuck Stuff. Now if this is your first time visiting with me, I suggest you go back and look at the very first video, the introduction video, and that'll tell you why I'm doing this and how to go about it. Well, I've got so much cool stuff to share with you today, I can't wait to show you. But my very first guest is a friend that's been with me since 1971. It's my family member, Pick. He's a Selmer 3-valve Piccolo Trumpet, and we've been on the road together, all kinds of recordings. And the very first song I ever learned on Pick and recorded was this one. So I got kind of a cool backstory for you. About 1998, I got a phone call from an old friend, Frank Pappalardo. And he said, hey, can you be out in St. Charles this afternoon for a recording session? I said, sure, no problem. He said, make sure you bring your trumpets, but be sure you bring your piccolo trumpet. I said, I'll see you then. So I show up later that afternoon to a beautiful home in Crane Road Estates in St. Charles. And I go around the back and I go downstairs and there's this beautiful in-home studio. And there's my buddy Frank sitting at the board, engineering like he always does. He's the best around. And another old friend, Joe Thomas, is sitting there. And Joe says, hey, Chuck, thanks for coming by. I'm producing an album for this gentleman. He introduces me to Brian Wilson. And I go, whoa, you are Brian Wilson of the Beach Boys, aren't you? So Brian says to me, I'm recording this song, Imagination. And I hear a Penny Lane trumpet at the end of the song. That's what I want you to do. Now y'all know what the Penny Lane trumpet solo is, don't you? That's the Penny Lane trumpet. So there's Brian standing next to me in the booth, singing the parts that he hears in his head for the end of Imagination. I make a few notes. He goes back in the booth with Frank and Joe. Maybe 1 or 2 takes, we got it down. Brian's happy. Whew. So that was it for the initial session for me and Pick. And I go back in the booth and Joe and Frank and Brian go, hey, nice job, Chuck. We want to put some more horn parts on some charts. Why don't you come back on Tuesday? I go, I'll see you Tuesday. Now, I was so honored to be a part of this album and this track. Just check out some of the names of the people that were a part of the song Imagination and the Imagination album. Now, after the album Imagination was complete, they had kind of a coming out party for Brian. He hadn't performed live in front of an audience in years. We recorded a VH1 special at the beautiful Norris Cultural Arts Center at St. Charles East High School. The band was an assemblage of some of the finest musicians around. Brian played a beautiful grand piano. Joe Thomas was on keyboards. Some of the guests were Timothy B. Schmidt of the Eagles, Christopher Cross, Bruce Johnston and the Beach Boys. The band was Rory Kaplan, Michael Rhodes, Eddie Bayers, and believe it or not, I didn't play trumpet on that gig. I was the percussionist. That was so much fun. So for that Norris Theater show, everybody in the band got a rehearsal CD. And it has 7 songs on it, 7 songs we played. Imagination, She Says That She Needs Me, South American, which was co-written with Jimmy Buffett. Lay Down Burden is a song that Brian wrote for his brother Carl after he passed away during that same time. In My Room, Don't Worry Baby, and California Girls. So we had to learn this, but I took this CD and of course I got it signed by Brian, and on the inside cover I got it signed by a lot of the musicians that were a part of that show. Timothy B. Schmidt, Christopher Cross, Bruce Johnston, Eddie Bayers. Plus, I even have a ticket stub from that show. Check it out. The Imagination Show, Norris Theater, St. Charles, Illinois, Saturday, May 9th, 1998 at 3 p.m. This CD is also part of my stuff. That's going to be a part of this package with my buddy Pick. Now, if you want to see some footage of that show, I'm going to put a link in the description below. It's actually my promotional video for my video company, Big Soto Studios. And it started out telling about my company, but it turned into a music video and has some of that footage of Brian, plus other people that I've performed with over the years. I also have a newsletter from that show. It's called Breakaway. And it shows Brian signing the piano that he used at that show. Also has on stage with some of the guest artists. It also has a studio tour of Brian's home studio. There's some photos in there and talks about it. So you're going to want to check this out also. It's a great newsletter and it tells all about that show. I also have, but this is not part of the package, a thank you note from Brian for being a part of the band and that show. But I'll let you read it because it's pretty cool. Now, after that Norris show, I was a part of 2 more shows. We did Farm Aid down in Tinley Park at the World Music Theater, and what a band that was assembled for Brian at that one. I was playing percussion again, but Paul Schaefer, Christopher Cross, Toby Keith, Willie Nelson, the great Todd Sucherman on drums. Now, if you don't believe me, I'm putting a link of one of the latest Todd's videos down there. You got to check out Todd. And I got a chance to play with Todd once again when we did a show at the Pabst Theater in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. But not only did I get a chance to play with Todd, but the coolest and the hippest bass player around, Bob Lizick was part of that, Paul Mertens was a part of that, the Wondermints. It was a great, great show. The people loved it. I have some home video of that show, and I'll put a link down in the description for you to check it out. Now, what's so much fun is that Bob Lizick, Paul Mertens, they're still on tour with Brian to this day. This summer they're going out on tour opening up for the band Chicago. They're coming to Chicago. You got to check them out. But I'm so happy that Brian is still out there making people happy with those great Beach Boys songs. Way to go, Brian. Keep it going. So that all started from a phone call from my friend Frank and my old friend Pick. So that's the package for this episode of Chuck Stuff. My old friend Pick, the autograph rehearsal CD, and the newsletter that talks about that Norris Cultural Arts Show, and the studio that Brian worked at here in St. Charles. So if you have any questions or any of this looks interesting to you, shoot me an email. chuckstuff1212@gmail.com. I'd love to hear from you. So don't forget to share, subscribe, and hit that bell so you get notifications when I come back with more stuff. So blessings, everybody. I'll see you next time on Chuck Stuff. Rock on!